Good morning. I've been getting asked a lot about what I think about the new Labour proposals when it comes to the Renters' Rights Bill. I've got my notes here. I'm going to give you my opinion on each bullet point that they are proposing, and this is based on my own opinion. But the first thing is, folks, we've got to remember we've been expecting this from the Conservatives for 3, maybe 4 years, when they decided to bring the Renters Reform Bill in that didn't get through in the end. So much of what Labour are doing is just an emulation of the policies that the Conservatives wanted to bring in. And I don't blame them, if I'm completely honest with you, because it's a very easy way, a very cost-effective way of getting the bill across, because it's already been written. So what do I think? So we've got a lot of different bullet points. Let me look at my notes. Okay, so the first one is the abolition of Section 21 evictions. Excuse me. So what do I think of that? Again, it's nothing new. We've been expecting this for years, and landlords have been preparing for it. What will it mean? It will mean that we can't give Section 21s anymore. That means it will just go. So we don't have the ability to give a no-fault eviction. Is that going to affect the way we do things? Well, we need to tighten our belts. We need to make sure that we do things better. We need to make sure that we do referencing better and hopefully take on better tenants so we don't have to, go down those routes. But they're going to have to give us stronger Section 8 grounds, because if they don't, then everyone's going to get out of the sector, because if you can't evict the tenant, then it's just going to be pointless in doing it, because sometimes tenants do go bad. And I'm not saying that everyone is, and I think that Section 21 potentially has been abused over the years. Am I worried about it? No. We have to adapt in order to survive. The next one is to ensure possession grounds are fair to both parties, giving tenants more security over their property, and the bill introduces new safeguards for tenants, giving them more time to find a home if a landlord evicts them to move in. That's going to be a work in progress. I don't really know what that means. We'll have to wait to see when the actual policy comes out exactly what it means to us as a landlord. The next one is to provide stronger protection against backdoor evictions by ensuring tenants are able to appeal excessive above market rents, which are purely designed to force them out. So backdoor evictions will mean if you can't do a Section 21, landlords then will potentially try and hike the rent up in order to force the tenant out. So they are plugging the gap with that as well. I've never ever done that. I'd never do that. So it's not going to affect me at all. Introducing a new private rented sector landlord ombudsman that will provide quick, fair, impartial and binding resolutions. Now, the thing is, as a private landlord at the moment in England, you're not required to be part of any ombudsman. So we've got the property redress scheme and we've got the property ombudsman. At the moment, as a private landlord, there is no legal requirement for you to join that. Now, what the ombudsman does, it provides mediation. If a tenant has an issue or a problem, they will call the ombudsman or the PRS. The PRS will get involved, they will mediate and potentially can fine or strike the agent off. And if you're an agent and you're not part of an ombudsman, then you can't trade. So what they're saying is now they're going to bring that into the private rental sector. I applaud that and I welcome it with open arms, because it just means it's regulating the sector and it's making landlords more accountable, which means that they're going to be more professional. So that I applaud. The next element is creating a private rented sector database. I think this is a good idea, depending on how it's run, because if it gets abused, then it could be catastrophic for landlords. So if we've got a scores on the doors type of thing, and it's run properly, and it's based on how good the property is, and it's based on how lawful the property is, then I agree with it. It says it's going to help landlords understand their legal obligations and demonstrate compliance, give good landlords confidence in their position, alongside providing better information to tenants to make more informed decisions when entering into a tenancy. I don't know what it's going to look like yet. I mean, the database can be abused. Now, if a landlord and a tenant don't get on for whatever reason, and then it's like a Trustpilot review, then I don't think it will work. But let's just see how that one evolves. I'm going to pause my thoughts on that one right now. The next one, give tenants strengthened rights to request a pet. Now this has been an ongoing debate for years. Pets in lets. A lot of people think that at the moment it's the law. It's not. It's only the law if you use the government approved model tenancy agreement. Because in that the default position is to allow pets. If you don't use the government model tenancy agreement, you don't need to allow for a pet at the moment. So the government are saying that the landlord must consider and cannot unreasonably refuse. To support this, landlords will be able to require pet insurance to cover the damage to their property. I don't have any issues with tenants having pets in single let property. If it's a shared house, it's a very different story, because for lots of reasons, people have allergies, people work nights, they don't want, Amazon parcels coming to the door and dogs barking all the time, cleaning up after them in a shared property with a shared garden. So it doesn't work in HMOs, but in single let properties, I don't have an issue with that at all. I mean, I've got dogs, so apply the decent home standard to the private rental sector to give renters safer, better value homes and remove the blight of poor quality homes in local communities. Not quite sure what that means right now. I'll pause on that one until we get more information. Apply AWAB's law to the sector, setting clear legal expectations about the timeframes within which landlords in the private rental sector must take action to make homes safe. So that's referring to black mould, making sure that tenants are living in a suitable environment that doesn't affect their health. 100% agree with that. Why wouldn't we? We should have that anyway. Make it illegal for landlords and agents to discriminate against prospective tenants in receipt of benefits or with children. Okay, again, single let properties, not an issue at all regarding children. HMOs are licensed. They're not suitable for kids in the main, because they're licensed usually for 5 or 6 people or more for the mandatory scheme. If you have a child in there, it's classed as one of those people, one of those adults, and it's a room, it's just one room in a shared house, so probably wouldn't be suitable. With regards to housing benefit, well, we've always had a stress test, an affordability test, and that affordability test is based on your income versus the rent. I think we have, I want to say something like 33%. So your rent can't be 33% more. Sorry, it can't be more than 33% of your income. Otherwise you fail the test. And that goes throughout the board. That's for everybody. So if you can afford it, you can afford it. If you can't, you can't. Next, end the practice of rental bidding by prohibiting landlords and agents from asking or for accepting offers above the advertised rent. So obviously in the rental market that's very busy, you've got several people wanting the property, and what they're saying is that if somebody says, well, I'll pay over the asking price, and then somebody else comes in and says, well, I'll pay over that, and it starts to become a bidding war, they're going to prevent that. We don't do that anyway. Our price is our price. And then they've got strengthen local authority enforcement by expanding civil penalties, introducing a package of investigatory powers, and bringing in a new requirement for local authorities to report on enforcement. All right, so local authorities, they're giving them more powers to be able to enforce breaches of the housing standards or potentially any of the HMO legislation as well. So yeah, I mean, local authorities have got a lot of power now anyway, because they've got unlimited fines that they can issue. So they're going to strengthen those. And then strengthen rent repayment orders by extending them to superior landlords, doubling the maximum penalty and ensuring repeat offenders. So a superior landlord, there was a test case in court last year where a rent-to-rent operator is the landlord. The superior landlord is the person that owns a property. So effectively what they're saying is rent repayment orders. So if someone's instructed to repay the rent back because the property is not compliant or it's not licensed, then if the rent-to-rent operator doesn't pay it back, it will go to the superior landlord in order to force them to pay it back. So that's my slant on it. Those are my opinions, much of which should be in place anyway. And all this does is it cements the need to have better landlords out there, because all this is going to do is make the better landlords better and push the bad landlords out. And I'm completely up for that. So am I worried? Not at all. I think the only thing that would be an issue for us is the Section 21 element. As long as they put better grounds in for Section 8, then we've got nothing to worry about, and it's onwards and upwards. Look, we need to regulate the industry, folks. There are still really bad people out there that don't do things properly. Now, don't get me wrong, am I perfect? Of course I'm not. You know, we do our best, we try our best, and we react to things when they happen. So I'm not worried about it at all, and I think most people shouldn't be. Let's see what happens. Let's see how it all pans out. It's got to go to Parliament yet, then it has to have Royal Ascent and everything, so we're looking at quite a while down the road before this actually comes into force. And then let's see what happens when it does. I hope that was useful. If you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to follow. Please leave a comment, give me your point of view, and let's have a debate. Let's start a debate in the chat.